Hey everybody, welcome to another lesson about position. This time we're talking about how our position influences the horse. So in the first lesson we talked about basic riding position, we addressed our seat, our legs, that sort of thing. So our position, we want to be in balance with the horse. And if you remember the pendulum video, we talked about the horse's center of gravity being right here. And in the trot video where we talked about the posting trot, that video we talk about moving with the footfall and being in rhythm with the horse, which again, we talk about rhythm in all the videos. And this is where our position matters huge. It's about form to function and biomechanics. So this is a huge topic. What we're going to talk about right now is just a really few basic things. So this is an X-race horse and jockeys obviously ride with a shorter stirrup and they get up off the horse's back in 2-point. You also see this position with show jumping. Oh, hey, girly. And even some Western riders will use 2-point, right? And the reason for 2-point is to get up off of the horse's back so that they can use their full length of their body more efficiently, right? So for example, going over a jump, a horse goes over the jump, creates an arc, and then lands on the other side. So we need to get out of the horse's way so that their body can do that. On the racetrack, horses galloping full out have a huge stride. So they stretch out and then they recoil, and then they stretch out and then they recoil. If you've ever been on a galloping horse, sitting that is awful. You get chucked around. So the idea, again, jockeys get up off their back over the center of balance and allow the horse to move using the entire length of their body and basically run as fast as they can. Okay, so that's one example about how we can influence the horse. In everyday riding, we basically concentrate on our legs, hands, torso, eyes, seat, and basically, so our legs keep in time with the hind legs, right? And then our seat wants to be able to follow the rhythm of the footfall. Those are the ideals, okay? Okay, so we talked a little bit about 2-point and staying in balance with the horse's center of gravity. And one of the other spaces is when you're riding terrain. So when you're riding out on the trail and your horse is going down a hill, you want to lean back a little bit, right? And keep your body from influencing the horse and putting too much weight on the front end. And then, physics is going to take over. And if you have more weight on the front end and you're going downhill, odds are, the next thing's going to happen and you could be tumbling down the hill, right? So we want to keep our body back and allow the horse their head and neck, because they're a pendulum, right? They need their head and neck for balance. And then alternatively, if you're going up a hill, right, you need to lean forward a little bit and keep your weight forward with the center of gravity instead of back here and flopping around, because that's going to make it more difficult for your horse to go up the hill, right? Whoopsie daisy. So when you first start riding, the basic influences on a horse, or how we influence the horse, is our legs. And it's basically, our leg means go and our hand means whoa or stop, right? Those are, the very rudimentary way of describing it. And then as you ride more and you get more, develop more awareness and more of a seat, you learn that, you can influence the horse by slowing your breathing down, you know what I mean? Or sitting up a little bit, or, obviously if we put more leg on, we can make the horse go faster, or we can take our leg off and the horse may completely stop, right? Depending on the type of horse that you're riding. It's, yeah, this is why riding is so cool. It is a lifelong sport. And every time you ride a different horse, it's going to feel differently, and you're going to find that you influence them in a different way. This particular mare is quite big and quite long, right? So, yeah, I tend to ride with a little bit of a longer rein. because of that reason. And alternately, like if this was a smaller horse with maybe a shorter neck, that's also going to change your position a little bit, because you're probably going to stay a little bit more back and be aware as if you tip forward, because that might cause that horse a little bit of unbalance. So let's talk a moment about non-ideals, okay? Or, different challenges that can come up. So sometimes if we get leaning forward, obviously this puts us in a compromised state because our center of balance is too far forward. And if the horse were to put their head down or stumble, we're going to be pulled over this way, right? It's just gravity and physics. Adversely, if we're too far back this way and we're in a little bit the back seat, same thing. We could easily get like bumped around and, fall off, and we're out of balance back this way, right? So those are a couple of different problems that can come up. And then we're not really influencing the horse in a positive way. Now we're sort of, more just being like a sack of potatoes, and the horse has got to pack us around. And the idea is to move fluidly with the horse and ideally become like a centaur, where my legs become part of the horse's body, and I just have to think about where I go, and the horse is there with me. And I do that from my office up here, this little operating space. That's, when you get the opportunity to ride a really exquisitely trained horse, that's what it feels like. You sit up here and you basically think about what you want to do, and they are with you. Rider position is something that unites the disciplines, because every discipline honors the horse in its own way. We talked about the jockey getting up off the horse's back so the horse can use itself better. We talked about the jumper getting up off its back. So you even look at something like saddle bronc or bareback riding, where it's, they say you're riding on reflexes and feel, right? Because you have like that split second to keep your balance on the horse. So if the horse is say like rearing, for example, your instinct is to go forward, right? And if it's bucking, you have a better chance of riding the buck if your pelvis is closer to the center of gravity, right? And you see those really excellent cowboys that are able to sit up and move their legs and stay in rhythm and stay in balance with the horse's center of gravity. And it's truly it's amazing. It's a work of art, And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have like the reiners and the dressage riders, where their horses are so collected and so with them that you barely see them do anything in the saddle. They basically just move their leg back a quarter of an inch, and now the horse is doing like a half pass across the arena. And it's all position. It's all position, biomechanics, and form to function. And it's cool. So in conclusion, the way we can influence a horse is by leg pressure, seat pressure, weight distribution, forward or back or side to side. Obviously the pressure of our reins, either together or one at a time, and our torso and our eyesight. That can also influence the horse, where to help them guide them and let them know where we want to go. It's influencing the horse. Like I said, you start very rudimentary with, our leg means go and our rein means stop. But the more you ride, the more you realize that they actually end up joining us. Everybody rides a horse, trains a horse, whether you're doing it or not. And they will start to pick up on our habits, whether they're something that we want or not. And that's the beauty of this. They become one with us, if it's correct or not. Ideally, you have support and you have guidance and lessons to help keep you guys correct and functioning in a really positive and healthy manner.